between the two of us.
Oh, where it like shows your face, then my face, then
Yeah.
your face, then.
Yeah, let's see if I can. I don't know how to change that.
This is why I hate Google Hangouts. I think you should be able to put them side by side. Like I had them side by side when I did an interview a while ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. I don't know how to do it though. Let's see. Hello there. Hi guys. We've switched to Google Hangouts because I can't get OBS to work. So, yeah.
Oh yeah. See, I should be as cool as you. I need to have my green screen up now. It's just
well, I just don't move it. Okay, so
awesome.
Let us try this again, guys. Sorry about this insane ridiculousness. So you guys can hear both of us? Can
you? I also want to. Is this still backwards?
Yeah, it's still backwards.
Dang it! Because on mine it shows up It shows up straight. What the heck?
Okay, so
that took a lot of time writing backwards.
Okay, they can hear both of us. So let's try this now. All right, guys. Sorry for the ridiculous whatever.
That's okay.
You heard my spiel like 8 times. Danny, tell me who you are and what you do.
All right. So my name is Danny, and for the sake of time and my hard-earned labor here, I wrote this backwards that I was going to show you when you couldn't read me. I mean, you couldn't hear me, so you're going to read it. It says, Danny, Crypto 99 in a nutshell. Hi, I'm Danny. I like food and booze. XRP is worthless. Roger Ver, Hearts, Bitcoin Core, John McAfee, 2020.
I like it. Sums you up pretty well.
Yeah, that's about all we got. That's about all she wrote right there.
So you kind of clipped my number 2 though. So what are your hobbies or things that you do in your free time that are outside of crypto?
So outside of crypto, other than what you've tried to see me mime a couple of times in terms of me liking long walks on the beach, which I won't repeat again. Outside of crypto, I like to, I'm a big golfer outside of crypto. Shock. I really enjoy, and I've gotten into this last couple of years, going to microbreweries around Charlotte because I have a bit of what we call a drinking problem. No, I don't. But they have a lot of good breweries around Charlotte, so we enjoy going there too. So then taking a long walk with my dogs.
Yeah, that's actually gotten really popular. I know a lot of people locally up to me too that do the whole brewery thing. I like beer, but my problem is I don't really like IPAs, and that's predominantly what you get at those microbreweries. 80%. Yeah. So, and then I look like an idiot because I walk in and I'm like, hey, I'd like a beer, please. That's a not IPA. Do you have anything light? And they're like, no, get out. I'm like, okay, cool. So yeah, I'd imagine that down south, you guys probably have a pretty cool array of beer.
Yeah, there's a pretty good array. I mean, there's 2 types of people that drink beer down south. There's the people that go to the breweries and they drink slightly higher end beer-ish, and they like kind of a wide range of IPAs, basically, like you mentioned. Or there's the people that like bulk buy barrels of Bud Light and have kegs stocked up in their closets, and then do keg stands and crush cans on their foreheads. So those are the 2 people. I fall into the prior category.
Quite honestly, that sounds like up north too, though. I mean, that's like the guys that drank like Natty Ice in high school, and then there's people that like craft beer that actually care about the flavor. So that makes sense. All right. So when was the first time you heard about crypto? And I guess like how soon after you heard about it did you actually get involved?
So this is going to be one of those sad stories that I need the world's tiniest violin. I heard about crypto when I was in college in 2010. I heard about Bitcoin very briefly from a buddy of mine that now lives in Australia. There's another tiny violin story about him that I may get to later. And he bought some in 2010. And well, tiny violin story is coming now. He doesn't know how to get it. So it's stuck. Yeah. Yeah. So he's got he doesn't even remember how much he bought. He has no idea how to get into it. But I heard about it then, and then started hearing sprinkles of it kind of from then to last year. And then I really started getting into it early last year, like March, April, and then made my first crypto purchase kind of towards the end of last summer. And then, progressively throughout the end of last year.
Yeah, that seems to be the general consensus. I mean, because I got in like right on the year, at the end of the year, I think it was the end of the year 2017. So I think I'm coming up on a year and a little bit more than that now of being in the space. I don't I can't play the world's smallest violin because I'd never heard of it. I heard nothing of it until my brother was like, hey, I gotta send you some money. And he sent me Bitcoin. And I was like, well, he had to walk me through making a wallet on Coinbase because I had no idea. I'm like, all these numbers and letters, what is this? He's like, oh, this is your wallet address. I'm like, I don't know what that means. So I definitely was super noob when I came into the space. I had no idea what I was doing. Did you have like nerdy friends in college? Is that how you heard about it?
No, I think it was because there was a decent amount of foreign people, like Europeans, and then this guy was Australian. So like they just had a different outlook, I think, and different exposure to things. So they were, because I mean, here in the United States, we're still way behind the 8 ball on crypto adoption at all. So I think that was the main reason, was just they just weren't from here. They were kind of transplants.
I think that's the nature of the US, though. We're kind of bogged down by regulations, which is funny because like we're supposed to be like a free country or whatever, but obviously that's not the case. Right. But yeah, no, I mean,
you guys are free.
Yeah, right. Well, like
my fingers are crossed.
Lark has said, you know, because he's, I think he's in Australia or New Zealand, that there's much less of the same issues that we have here. So that makes sense that you would have learned it from someone that wasn't in the US.
Yeah, right.
So how long has your channel been around?
So it was around as a crypto channel for the last year, roughly. I dabbled and done some stuff before in the year before that, but it's been I actually started posting on YouTube in 2006, believe it or not.
Really?
I was 15, and so yeah, I have a slew of, now they're on dailymotion.com. How about that throwback? We pranked the pizza guy a lot.
Doing what?
Oh yeah. The first one was, we had a 1,000th delivery guy party. So he came in and we were all hiding in closets and stuff. And like, it looked like a giant luau. And he's like, what is going on? And all of a sudden we all jumped out, like playing ukuleles and music and stuff. It was really fun.
That's terrifying. If I was him, I would have probably had a heart attack. You can startle me. If you're standing in front of me and I'm making eye contact with you and you scream boo, you can still startle me. So I would be a nervous wreck if that happened. So those went on Daily Motion, and then you just, like, what was your inspiration? Okay, you heard about crypto in 2010. Well, I'm gonna make a channel now.
Well, I'd always kind of been on the finance side of things and on the investment side, not the tech side. And there was just a lot of things that there was a big disconnect between the typical crypto investor and the typical person that invests in a 401k, right? Because if you're putting money in your 401k, you go on the Wells Fargo app, you put the ticker to 3%, and then 3% of your money goes into a savings account or some form of investment. But with crypto, it's like you physically have to choose to take your money, buy something you don't understand, invest in something you don't understand, put it in a wallet that you don't understand, and just trust that it's gonna, like, it's such a big barrier to entry compared to what's regular. So that's kind of one of my goals, was to take that barrier and try to break it down as best as possible, because it was there for me certainly when I started. So
yeah, I had similar experiences. I mean, I got into crypto and I found myself on like the Reddit Bitcoin market Slack, and I asked like a gazillion questions and everybody was really helpful. And then I had a previous YouTube channel where I did like car videos and stuff, and someone had seen that and was like, oh, hey, you can make YouTube videos and you're learning about crypto, you should do both. I'm like, well, I don't have anything to share anybody. I'm not like an expert. Like, well, nobody's an expert. So that was a goal of my channel too, is when I got into it and I was doing research, I found that so much information was overwhelming and overly technical. And I'm like, well, how is the average person like me supposed to get into this when, like you said, you take money you don't understand, you put it in a wallet you don't understand, and you try to use it, which you still don't fully understand how to do. So yeah. So I think it's super important that like we as creators are creating a pathway for other people that is less intimidating. You know, and also it's not like we ever say that we're professionals. We all know that we're just, you know, disclaimer, people on the internet making videos, but
yeah. And one problem too is a lot of the quote unquote experts are horrible communicators. So that was something like, I was like, I'm going to see what all the experts say. Well, the experts speak gibberish half the time. Like, please try to understand the mind of Vitalik Buterin. Like that's nobody. I mean, other than me cracking up at him clapping, that's it. That's all I've got from that guy.
Well, no, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I had Charles Hoskinson on my channel. We did a 2-hour interview. Besides the fact that like the first half an hour I was just about ready to pass out and I couldn't breathe, so I didn't hear anything he said. But like the last hour and a half, it was just so over my head. And it's amazing because it gives you stuff to want to research about, but it was extraordinarily intimidating. So yes, we have experts who are geniuses who can't really relay information. And then we have a bunch of people, not us, not most of us anyways, but a good decent amount of crypto YouTubers that kind of just make like junk content to confuse people and shill stuff. And then I think you have like us who's actually trying to make decent content amidst it all, which is not easy.
No kidding.
So what has having a YouTube channel in general taught you, whether or not like crypto based or just like life experience based?
It has, for better or worse, exposed me to the mass amount of internet trolls that existed in the world that I didn't even know were like, I had no idea until that point just how deeply threaded the trollery was online. It's like crazy. It was a rude awakening because I used to take stuff super personal. Somebody would be like, "You look like a dumbass, shut up, idiot," and I'm like, "No, I don't, stop." Like, but now it's like, "Oh, thanks," you know.
Yeah, I'm right up there with you. Back. I get a lot of, "You don't know what you're talking about." I'm like, well, I mean, you're not wrong. I'm not a professional and I'm self-teaching myself this stuff as I go. So yeah, I mean, you're kind of right, but whatever. You just have to like let stuff roll off your back because otherwise you'll be fighting people in the comments pretty much indefinitely.
Yeah. That's yes, correct.
Yes.
At 11:45 at night because they just woke up in England and you're just like, "Shut up, dick," online. They're waking up and you go to sleep.
Yes.
So
yeah, not good. Yeah, no, you get hassled all hours of the day and night because time change is a wonderful thing. So I'm interested to know your opinion around the sentiment around technical analysis, because within the space, obviously, there are a lot of people who think that it's either not useful or voodoo magic, or maybe just in crypto right now, crypto's too volatile for it to actually follow the traditional patterns. What's your take on that?
So this is you're right. It's a hotly debated topic, whether it works, whether it doesn't work, whether it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, whatever it is. And I think in large part, does not work. And that's like that actually kind of pained me to say. But the reason it doesn't work is because a lot of people really don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So like anybody can if you watch a little bit of content somewhere and you learn what a Fibonacci retracement is, and you just draw it at random points, and you're like, "Oh, wow, that line hit right there," and you make a video, somebody is going to think that you know what you're talking about because they don't know what a Fibonacci retracement is or something like that. And it's that kind of content that I think made it what it is now. Because there's so many new people, like I mentioned before, there's so much new hot energy coming into the space. There's a lot of holes that need to get filled, and that was a hole that needed to get filled, and it got filled by 85% subpar content. So it's a tough conundrum to be a technical analysis oriented-ish guy and then also in the same breath say, well, it doesn't really work most of the time, because a lot of what I see doesn't work. And it's speculative anyway. So it just gives you a better chance than 50-50 is what it does. It's not like 90% of the time it's crystal ball. It's like 60-40, 65-35, and gives you a set of options to use when it does get to whatever level you're looking at. So
yeah, it's funny. That's something I learned when I started, because I originally started trading, which was a horrible idea. And I started doing research on TA and stuff like that. And what I know now is exactly what you said, that it's not like, 80-20, it's like 60-40, and it's just giving you a slight percentage that it's going to go in your way. I'm actually surprised to hear you say that you think because people don't know what they're doing is why it makes it more difficult. I, on the other hand, have heard so many people say that because people are following TA so strictly that it's almost like some of the charts are self-fulfilling prophecies, because people are saying like, oh, it hits this line, whatever, but everybody's charting off that line because everybody's an amateur and everybody's using the same signals.
And that's true to some extent on some of the really big groups, but the problem is a lot of the trading volume that actually goes on in crypto, nobody sees. They're not showing their charts. We're basically trying to take our best guess using technical analysis to figure out what they're doing and do it.
Yeah.
Because the market is made to take your money, for better or worse. It's designed to wreck the noob investor, which has happened much this year, but it's a lot of the stuff we don't see. So it's like I mentioned a second ago, we're trying to figure out, what do they do? What are they looking at? We know the tools that they use. We're just trying to figure out which set of tools or what combination of tools they're using to get to a number and be at that number or just before that number when they get there. So,
yeah. So basically, I'm summarizing, it's definitely still voodoo magic is what I think.
Oh yeah, it's voodoo magic, and one other reason it's voodoo magic a lot of times is because people make it too complicated. Like, the least amount of indicators you can use, the better. Like, there's a trading strategy that you literally only use RSI. That's it. Like what I wrote about in the Blockchain Brief article.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to use RSI to trade, and all you do is pick one trading pair, buy it when the RSI hits I won't summarize it, but hits one point, and sell it when it hits another point, and just do that over and over again, you're effectively a trader, and you would be okay. People just make it way too complicated, and I won't poach too much of this, but I watched one of Ready Set Crypto's videos, and it was Doc talking. He says the human mind is pre-programmed to suck at trading, and it's so true. It's so true. We have a herd mentality for the most part, and going against that herd is counterintuitive to how we're pre-programmed. So it's really hard because you have to go against the herd for the most part if you want to be really successful. But interesting stuff for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, not to mention we're emotional creatures, right? So like they always say emotion should be taken out of trading. Well, I personally was unable to do that. When I recognized that I was unable to take the emotions out of it, I realized trading was just never going to be my forte. So I relinquished those abilities, and I said, that's fine, whatever, I'll just make other videos. But I've always found it interesting, people who can keep their cool and kind of stay working on it, but not too invested in the process, because I would just get so frustrated. But I do think you're right that people definitely overuse trading indicators. I mean, I'll see charts on Twitter, and I'm like, what in God's name are you looking at? Like, what are you doing? Yeah. So why technical analysis? I mean, why not some other type of crypto video? Were you doing trading, regular financial trading in your regular life, or?
Yeah, I cut my teeth in just the general stock market. I got interested early on when I was in high school. We had a competition in one of my advanced whatever classes, and I say advanced, it's advanced because it's high school. We were given $1,000 fictional dollars to trade with, and whoever had the most at the end of a 3-month period won like a $25 Papa John's gift card or something. So yeah, I was king shit for like a week when I had that gift card. I bought like 3 girls pizza, which was not necessarily great, but and so I made it a point to try to learn what I could in the first month, not do a thing, and then in the next 2 months try. And I learned a little bit, but retained very little. And then started dabbling in it a little bit in college in some of my business classes, and then started dabbling in a little bit, doing a lot of research. What do the indicators mean? What does this mean? And then crypto came along. And because I didn't understand the tech when I first started, but I did understand what a chart was supposed to look like, I naturally kind of gravitated towards that. And I said, stick to what you know. I'm not going to fake it. I'm not a programmer. I'm not a techie guy. I'm more of an investor style guy that somewhat understands some of the stuff related to blockchain. So that's kind of how I gravitated that way.
Yeah, that's kind of what I did too. I mean, I'm not a tech person by trade. I don't know how to code. I don't understand the inner workings of computers and things, but I've always been interested in technology. Like my best friend, my nickname, she calls me Inspector Gadget because I buy computers and microphones and cameras and all this other stuff. So applications and use cases of technology in real life has always been important to me. And then I saw crypto and I was just interested in the tech. And my favorite thing to do is if I don't understand something, immerse myself in it entirely until I have like a pretty good grasp. What better space to do that when there's, 1,500 crypto projects and nobody kind of understands what's going on. So yeah. I fell down the rabbit hole doing that. And I did exactly what you did. I stuck to what I knew. I didn't try to pretend to be something that I wasn't. And I just did what I was comfortable with, which is researching and I guess talking to a camera at this point. So.
Yeah, that was a little strange at first, but
yeah,
it's better now because I'm imagining all these wonderful people.
It is slightly better. And live streaming is easier too, because obviously we're talking to real people, but like sometimes my mom will come in and she's like, what you doing? I'm like, well, I'm recording a video. I'm just staring off into space and blindly speaking. But why normal people don't do that? Oh man. I mean, now that I brought up my mother, I guess, does your family know what you do online? What does your family think of crypto? What's like the normies outside perspective?
So my wife obviously knows what I do because she hears me all the time. And she is the only one that actually hears my blooper reel when I start off, and it's actually kind of funny. But so she obviously knows and somewhat understands, what's going on. She's come to some of the conferences and things, but outside family, as in like mom, dad, brother, they know kind of what I do, but they don't understand it at all. Every time, I mean, whatever holiday, to take your pick. So what is blockchain or what is Bitcoin? I get that question more. It's just like, okay, it's the 8th time we've gone over this. We're not going to do it again. Like, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
So they're trying at least to understand. They're totally cool with it. They support me. My mom is a member of my Facebook group, which is hilarious. So
yeah, my mom is a patron on my Patreon, and she also subscribed to the Blockchain Brief. So,
nice.
So she's a paying member of the Blockchain Brief. She's kind of like the same thing. She understands that I make videos. She understands that I'm involved in crypto. She doesn't quite understand what crypto is. I mean, none of my family does. And I'll get text messages from my grandmother like, oh, I heard Bitcoin's down today. I'm like, you're 80 years old. Like, what are you looking into crypto prices for? But it's cool because if nothing else, it's made a conversation, and whether or not these people will ever buy crypto. And at this point in time, I would never tell anybody to invest anyways, because we don't know what's going on. But it is interesting to think that like indirectly, you and I and everybody else who just talks about it is slowly but surely, it's bleeding out into other people who otherwise would know about it.
I think your grandma's looking for those Lambo gains. That's what's happening. She wants a Lamborghini.
Probably. And what's crazy is that I could honestly see her in one. She's kind of nuts. It would be hilarious.
That's awesome.
So off topic, not crypto related, which is probably one of my questions I was most excited to ask. There's some standardized questions I'll be asking people throughout, but if you could sit down with anyone in history, or alive or not alive, who would it be and why?
So it has to be one person. I can't pick like a panel.
No, I mean, I guess like if it was like a group
I'll pick one person. I'll pick one person. Or well, every group has a leader per se, right? If I could sit down with one person in history, like all of history, way back.
Yeah, let's make it more difficult for you.
Yeah, that's fine. I would want to sit down with, and obviously don't hold me to this. I would want to sit down with pre-United States Albert Einstein. It's like when Albert Einstein basically defected from Austria, I think is what it was. Correct me if I'm wrong, people. And if I had a translator, because he didn't really know a lot of English, I would want to talk to pre-US Albert Einstein. And that's a very like hyper specific, because when he got to the United States, he obviously was able to more freely express himself into like what his views were, and he fought for the good guys supposedly. But I would want to see what he was like in Germany, like pre-World War II Albert Einstein, because that would have been a really interesting conversation. Because
that would be interesting. Super genius. I mean, I don't even know what it would be like to be that intelligent. Like, I mean, I don't even know if you are aware of the fact that you're that intelligent, but
that or pre Stephen Hawking when he was like 20.
Yes, that's a great one. I'm on board with that for sure.
I mean, there's canned answers. People are like Hitler, and I know that's not a popular one. No, that's a popular answer. People that are thinking Hitler, or FDR, George Washington, Abe Lincoln, Frederick Douglass. Like, there's all these big names people throw out. So I had to go off the rails a little bit with.
No, I like it. You were creative. I think if somebody asked me that, now it's funny because I asked you this question and I was thinking while you were talking, like, who would I pick? I think I'd have to actually give it more thought. The first person that popped in my head was Queen Elizabeth. I don't know why.
Huh. Interesting.
But I'd
The
like
first
to go
person that
like
popped in my head
way
was
back.
Julius Caesar.
Oh, that's a good one.
And I don't know why. It's so random. That's why I was like, how far back can we go?
Just go infinitely as long as you want.
Yeah. I would say I would have to say either pre-World War II Albert Einstein or pre wheelchair and able to speak Stephen Hawking.
Yep, I agree. I like the Stephen Hawking's one. I probably wouldn't have. I definitely would have come up with that on my own, but I'm gonna steal that.
That's okay. You steal it. Feel free. It's a good one.
So, what's your favorite things about making content? And I guess the latter, what are your least favorite things about making content?
Favorite thing has got to be the fact that regardless of how many views the video gets or what the comments look like or what the like to dislike ratio is or even what it's about, like I genuinely feel good about putting what I believe is valuable content that people will get something out of to where people can get something out of it. And I know it's like a really fluffy unicorns kind of answer, but it really is probably the best thing. It's the most fulfilling thing to me is like getting positive reactions on stuff you know you worked hard on and you know you're trying to help people, getting them to say, hey, thanks, or this is really great, this really helped me, or I didn't know that before. Stuff like that. Least favorite thing about making content over the last 6 months is trying to find stuff to talk about that didn't want to make you just like go bonkers. But other than that, it's honestly probably still the trollery. That's my least favorite thing, I think, is handling. And I've gotten a lot less of that lately. And I don't know whether it's a function of engagement's going way down and they're just like focused on something else or they're focused on someone else. Yeah. Yeah, they're trolling other people. They're trolling Trump now. I think that's probably my least favorite part about doing it. But
it's funny that you say that your answers you thought was like fluffy unicorns, whatever, because there's this podcast that I really like. It's called, I always show them every time I'm live, but it's Crypto Basic Podcast. Three guys that make a podcast that I've been on a few times. I love their content. And when I was on a live stream months ago, somebody asked me the same question. What's your favorite thing about making content? And I said, genuinely, the engagement with people and reading comments and having people say exactly the same thing you said. This really helped me. This was really informative. Thank you so much. Whatever. You summarized this in a way that I wouldn't have been able to, so on and so forth. And they said, they're like, yeah, it really sounded like such like a crap generic answer until they started making content and somebody asked them the question and they had the same response. And they were like, okay, well, that's crazy that now I get it. Like, I think people don't, well, but you also have to think like, obviously we're doing this for something, right? We're not like, I like creating something, but I also like learning. And in the process, if I'm helping someone, that's just kind of like it makes sense to be doing it.
Oh yeah.
I guess as far as my dislikes, probably trolls. And honestly, probably sometimes genuinely being tired or really busy with like other stuff in life, because you and I both have jobs outside of this channel, and sometimes not having the energy to make a video, but realizing I have to be consistent. Like there's some weeks that I definitely would rather take it off, but I don't want to disappoint people or lack in content or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I went through that phase. I mean, I'm permanently in that phase, I think, but I've cut down a lot. I was doing daily videos for a long time. I was like Kyle from Crypto Zombie. For those of you who don't know, I mean, it's Kyle, Kato, whatever you want to call him. I was like him for a while. And then I was like, this is exhausting. I'm working however many hours a week on my normal job, trying to do this, trying to engage with people in Discord, trying to engage with people on Facebook, tweet a little bit, respond to all like it was then chart and trade on top of that. It was like, holy crap. So I've toned it back a little bit to allow myself not to go absolutely crazy. But I'm a little crazy anyway, which is fine.
It's funny you mentioned that too, because I've noticed I've definitely dialed back. At my peak, I was doing like 3 videos a week, which considering the amount of research that has to go into each video was asinine for me. Yeah,
your videos are a lot more involved behind the scenes, I think, than people realize.
Yeah,
because like mine, it's like what's going on Cointelegraph, CoinDesk, what's a couple charts look like, make a couple jokes, film it, done. Yours, like you do a lot of research and a lot of editing and a lot of time spent not behind the camera that I don't think people appreciate. Or maybe they do, but
I think some people do appreciate it, and that's part of the reason why I've released bloopers and stuff, is because I don't want people to be like, oh wow, like, oh my God, you make such good videos. I just want people to have a grasp of, like if I don't make a video for 5 or 6 days, it's probably because I'm researching. The other thing is I get, if I can't find the answer to something about a project, I have a bunch of bullet points that I try to hit on every video. And if I can't hit them, I have to try to contact the team to get the answer. And that sometimes may take a couple days to get a response. Yeah. So, it's difficult to do that. And I think the hardest part is definitely just sometimes finding the enthusiasm. And I mean, I know most people are experiencing this, and I'm not going to lie. The bear market, the dip in the views, the dip in engagement has definitely decreased my enthusiasm for making videos. Because most of it's because I want to talk to people and engage. But I've dialed back on social media a lot as well. I'm pretty much only in my Discord and on Twitter now. I got rid of my personal Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that. And I'm just trying to do crypto-based stuff. But I had to get rid out of groups, out of Telegram groups. I had all kinds of stuff. My phone would just never stop all day. Yeah, like I can't do this. It's not sustainable. So yeah, it's all about learning to balance too. I mean, we're both relatively new channels, so I think that definitely plays a role. And you're married, so that you can't completely forget about your wife in the process.
Yeah, no kidding. Ask me how many times I hear that a week.
Yeah. My boyfriend's been like, hello, like, is anybody in there? I'm like, sorry, I got 18 messages I have to respond to. Also, the reason I turned off messaging on Twitter is because it was insane. But
yeah.
So another off-topic question: if you could be any superhero, what would you be and why?
Any superhero. Wow. I've thought about this a lot, believe it or not. I've actually put a lot of thought into this question, not because I didn't know this was coming. I just like to think about these things in my spare time.
I do too, strangely enough, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, the reason I would definitely be the Flash. And the reason why is because I could, like, the canned answers are Superman because he's literally invincible, other than kryptonite, which doesn't exist. Batman because he's got like 18 bajillion, quadrillion dollars. Less popular answer, I almost went with the Green Lantern because you can just like create stuff, you can float, and you're going to marry Blake Lively. So like those things combined, out of all of them are good. Out of all of those are good. Spider-Man sucks. But I think the Flash, and the reason being, because I was always fast growing up, but I wish I was faster. So that little, like, I don't know if it's not an insecurity. I don't know what it is, but like, I just think it'd be way cooler to run around the world almost instantly and do laps than fly or some other form of insane madness.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't be a version of Spider-Man because that was never my thing. My favorite superhero was always Batman because although he has a cajillion dollars, I like the fact that he was just like a human, just a person who was like super buff.
Yeah.
But I've actually had this discussion with my boyfriend that if I sit and I think about teleportation as an actual option in life, I get really depressed because I'm like, wow, my life would be so much easier and so much more efficient if I could just teleport everywhere instead of drive. So you wanting to be Flash is almost like in the same vein of being able to just go everywhere and do everything instantly. Somebody in the chat said Deadpool. I'd have to agree. Deadpool would be a really good one to be.
Yeah, Deadpool would be hilarious. That or Ant-Man. Just for no other reason than you can be like this big.
Is that his only superpower? I don't know anything about him.
He's also supposedly, when he puts his Ant-Man suit on, I've watched the movie, but that's about it. He gets ridiculously strong too. So if you like flick him or you throw him against something, people go flying, but you can't barely exercise your fingernail.
Well, this is so off topic, but aren't ants, as far as like proportionate to their body size, supposed to be extremely strong?
Yeah. Yeah. They can lift like a breadcrumb, which to us is hilarious, but to them, it's like 5 times their body weight.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, that makes a little bit more sense now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So back on topic, what's your feeling about the bear market and what seems to be, do you think it's dwindling interest in the space? Do you think it's fear? Do you see an end in sight? I mean, what's your thoughts?
There's definitely an end in sight. I don't know how far, what kind of vision you need to be able to see it. I think I've been saying this for a while. I think somewhere from 2,900 to 3K is going to be the local bottom, which is more of the bottom for now before the next, somewhat move. Yeah. I don't think I think the bear market has caused lack of interest. I don't think lack of interest caused the bear market or caused an extended bear market. I think like this is going to sound, people are going to want to punch me. This is somewhat healthy if you look at the grand scheme of things. I mean, it sucks to think about, but it's also somewhat related to futures. Because if you look at gold, when gold futures came out in 2011, the price of gold from 2011 to now, yeah, I'm so used to saying it, it's like second nature. The price of gold from 2011 to now is down like 45%. So if in such a mature asset class like gold took a hit when futures came out, when people realized they could make money when it went down, because you got to think about it. Before, there was no way to make money unless it went up, right? But now they can make money when it goes down. So that gives you a lot more of a bears versus bulls mentality. And I think it's just so new that people, I can make money when it goes down. Why not just do that? Yeah. It's going down anyway. So that's definitely played a big role in it, which it's panned out with most major asset classes that had futures contracts that weren't physically backed to come out. So that's been a big, not issue for me because I shamelessly participate in those, but if I didn't participate in them, they'd still exist. So I don't think I'm hurting anything by my measly little self, but that's the kind of the big two things is we needed a correction. It was unsustained. Like growth last year is unsustainable. It was crazy. And then the futures have suppressed it to some extent for a pretty long period of time.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I don't think people are going to hate you for saying that. I think that seems to be like an agreement that everybody's like quietly has come to without wanting to admit that. But I mean, for us to see, a 20K Bitcoin over the course of like, I don't know, 3 months, it was just unrealistic. And like you said, it was not sustained in it. In order for us to be healthy long-term, I do think right now the price needs to go down. People need to continue to get interested. And I think it was Crypto Daily that calculated what percent of the world or what percent of the US is actually in crypto. And it's like,
so small,
like a point of it's not even like a full integer.
It's really small,
which is asinine. So we're, and we do this all day. We talk about this all day. We're all on crypto Twitter all day and Discord and Telegram. And our whole world is so deep in this stuff that to us, it feels like this big, massive thing, but it's not, it's minuscule. And
we've created the world's tiniest echo chamber and we're living in it. And we think that is it. We're like small tribes in Africa that have never heard of Google and the internet. Like they think that's it. They think that's life. That's it for them. And that's kind of us. Actually. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess in the same light, where do you think the space will be in 5 years? What would you like to see, or what do you think would be success for the space?
Success for the space, regardless of price. Because I'm not going to try to make, Bitcoin's going to be $1 million by 2020 or 2022. And if it's not, I'm going to eat some male appendage of mine, like John. Even though that's a live stream I don't want to watch.
No.
I honestly think that at least a couple global industries will have blockchain at minimum threaded in them. Supply chain is definitely one. That's by far my favorite one. That's probably because it speaks a little more to my traditional, like schooled background. I don't think we'll see payment systems for a while. I think, yes, a global economic crisis, if you want to call it that, is coming, but hyperinflation won't exist in major countries for a while. So we really don't, I mean, we already have had it if you look at the last 100 years, but we're not going to be Venezuela tomorrow. So we're not going to worry about that. Or Zimbabwe. I think the voting process will be put on blockchain, which will be a big win. I think supply chain is going to be, in 5 years, we'll have most supply, like the supply chain companies will take massive bumps in the next 5 years, whether they're partnerships or not. It's going to be there. Bitcoin in 5 years. Oh man, I'm getting less bullish on Bitcoin as like time goes on, just because Lightning Network's great, but off-chain scaling is not what it's meant. And I can't stand Roger Ver or Craig Wright. So I've thrown ABC 123, you and me out the window. and shit vision out the window. Those are gone. They'll be dead. So I'm curious to see kind of how that comes to play. I'm curious to see what upgrades they bring in the next 5 years.
You know, and I might get flamed for saying this because I know there's a gazillion freaking platform projects out there, but I still really have a lot of faith in Ethereum for usability. I really do think, and I mean, you take one look at Vitalik, and I just feel like I will put my faith in this guy. Like I totally feel as though he's a trustworthy individual. But you know, and I agree with you. I think that supply chain will be the best use case for the time being, and it is already getting implemented. I mean, you know, Hobbies rebranded. They sent me a bunch of swag. The sweatshirt had a QR code on it that you could scan on their app, which is available in most Asian countries, and it will tell you it's authentic and track where it's been. Like for shoes, for bags, for all kinds of stuff, for anti-counterfeiting, that's an amazing use case. I know that, you know, VeChain's doing the same thing with wine. I know that I forget what's the other one. Walton, Ambrosis is a smaller one. I think they were doing something with Modem with like actual shipping cargo. That's going to be the stuff that gets adopted first. And I always say this, I think in every damn stream is we need to have people using it without realizing they're using it.
That's the problem. Like that kind of circles all the way back to the beginning, just from an investing piece. People don't realize that they're like, they don't think about investing in stocks, because if they want to do it, they give their money to a broker.
Yeah.
It's got to be the same way with adoption in cryptos. You got to be able to use it without knowing you're using it.
And it's got to be effortless and not scary. Right now, it's terrifying. I mean, you know, take it from me, starting in the space and not having any experience, it was really scary. I mean, I asked 1,000 questions, and I was just willing to, you know, the whole never invest any more than you're willing to lose. I was just always willing to lose whatever I was putting out there as a learning experience. But for those people that come in like, oh, it's a bull run, Lambo moon, whatever, and then they just lose a bunch of money, like your friend, he doesn't know how to access his Bitcoin. That's crazy. Like that's, and we wonder why like the SEC and all of these, you know, government agencies want to regulate the space. It's because stuff like this is terrifying.
I say this frequently now. I hadn't really found a good way to formulate this until a couple weeks ago, but Bitcoin, blockchain, crypto, however you want to, you know, frame it, it presents us with the most secure transaction layer the world has ever seen for both payments and information. So the faster we can tokenize all kinds of different stuff and put it on blockchain, payments will probably take a little while. So we'll stick with information and physical items first. But the faster we can get that all done, I think the better off the world is going to be. Supply chain costs companies like $1.5 trillion a year.
Yeah.
A year. So if you just take 10%, if you get a 10% haircut on $1.5 trillion, 150 billion, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. You can like fund a third of NASA.
Yeah.
With that. It's a lot of dough.
Well, that's also like, you know, Ravencoin, which I just recently reviewed, which I really liked, where you can tokenize ownership of things and make it like give somebody the deed to your house via a tokenized asset. That to me is amazing. Like just being able to say, okay, you know, this collectible item, I'm going to tokenize it. It gets a special like address on it that's verifiable, whatever, on the blockchain, boom, safe. And that to me is another thing that I think is huge. Making stuff available and safe ownership. Like Cardano wants to bring, you know, banking to the unbanked. It's the same thing. Being able to bring stuff to people that wasn't otherwise possible and giving people safety nets, like allowing them to maintain ownership of things or whatever, is very cool. There's just, and we don't know what we don't know, right? So there's so much more stuff that could be still in the pipeline. And that's the one thing about the space.
And I shamelessly shill Walton like at every turn because I love that project. And one of the main reasons is it takes stuff we're already using, RFID technology. It's already being used. And it puts it on the blockchain in a way that allows companies to use it, but not realize they're really using it. Yeah, there's a couple of hardware upgrades that you would need to do in some of the facilities, but that's really it. That's all you'd have to do is do a small upgrade and you're using it. And the customers will never know, but the companies will see the bottom line benefit of that. And that's kind of the stuff that we're going to need probably to facilitate change.
Yeah, and it'll be guys like Walton who come in and they'll be like, hey, I'll make it real easy for your staff. They won't even know they're using it. Boom. Like, and we're going to save you money. We're going to make it more efficient. It's going to be more precise and accurate and whatever. And I just don't see a reason why companies wouldn't be like, hell yeah, let's do it. So
yeah, it gets down to the point where with Walton, and then I'll shut up about Walton, you could be able to take a shirt off of the rack and put it back, and you can track that. So, okay, well, these items people are taking off the rack and putting back. Why are they putting them back? Are they sized wrong? Cool. Are they colored wrong? Like there's all kinds of stuff that companies can do that is just, so good.
That is cool. I didn't know that. I mean, I've looked into Walton, but I don't know. I got hooked into VeChain first. I don't really know why in particular, but I do hold VeChain. So, all right. So we're dwindling down to the last questions here. I got one more for you, and then we got 2 community submissions. So if you could tell your viewers one thing about yourself or your channel, like to preface people before they watched it, maybe to tell the trolls or whatever, what would you want to tell somebody?
This is not investment advice. No, just, if I could tell them one thing, prep yourself to not necessarily always hear a popular opinion. And because people hear what they want to hear what they want to hear. And if they don't hear what they want to hear, that's when you get the triggers in the troll. So prep yourself to hear a potentially unpopular opinion. When I say XRP is worthless, I do not like, that's a trigger for people. When I talk crap about Verge, the Verge army comes into my comments. It's stuff like that. And I mean, there's other people, but prep yourself to hear an unpopular opinion and try to learn something every single video. Because you can if you want, but you have to want to really to learn something. So
yeah, I get the same thing. I've actually, it's funny, I've actually dialed back how much I talk about stuff like XRP and Verge and whatever, because I just don't want to even be bothered to have arguments with people. And I figure you're not going to change anybody's mind on Twitter. I mean, everybody's on the defense. You're not going to change anybody's mind in a YouTube comment. So I agree with you. Going into things with an open mind and wanting to hear something that's not your little echo chamber is important, because obviously somebody else is trying to tell you something that could be useful, but that's not usually the way people...
if you want engagement, throw XRP to $50 ? In a title of a YouTube video, and boy, everybody wants to watch that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'll start doing that. Who knows?
It'll get shared all over Twitter 1 billion times.
But no one will watch it. They'll just read the title and share it.
Yeah, and then I have to rebrand my channel to XRP99, and it'd be
that's your downfall, and that's where it's a slippery slope, man.
Yeah.
All right, so community submissions. How did you organize yourself in your early days to get to this level of productivity? And what is or what was your daily routine?
So I grew up in not a military family, by not that my dad was in the military, but that he grew up in the military, and he had grew up in a military family and had a very regimented routine in the morning, which I picked up 0 of.
I was waiting for you to say that you picked up all of it. I was not expecting that.
Yeah. Hang out in left field for this answer, because I am not organized at all. I don't even know how I got my shirt on. Like, I am not an organized person at all, other than my desktop background, which is for a different day. I'm an early riser, and my brain is always going. So for me, there is no secret sauce to kind of being able to work a job and trade and do videos and stuff like that and still have the time to be sane human. But I'm blessed in that I'm going 100 miles an hour, and then I'm going 0 when I sleep. And then I wake up and I'm already going 100. So I guess I just have the capacity to handle more things for whatever reason. I'm not really sure why, partially due to my Nespresso machine, which I keep them in business now. But other than that, that's not going to be the best answer that anyone has ever heard. But I'm not organized. You don't have to be hyper organized to be hyper productive. That's something that those don't necessarily mesh hand in hand, as long as you can compartmentalize when you need to. If you're scatterbrained, that's fine. But as long as you can be focused on what you're doing for however long it takes, that's kind of what matters.
Yeah, I agree with you. They're definitely not mutually exclusive, but I'm actually the polar opposite. So I was raised in a household that was very hectic. My mother is not organized. There's crap everywhere all the time. And so because of that, I went to the polar opposite. And in college, it just got way worse. And then I made a YouTube channel, and it's totally escalated to, I mean, you've seen the Trello for the blockchain brief. I am organized to a point that sometimes it's cumbersome, but I'm the same way. I wake up at 100, I go to sleep at 100, but then I sleep. And the problem is if I don't have everything organized and in the right order, and I know that it's prepared for the next day, I'm not going to be able to sleep. So I guess that might be borderline OCD, probably. but everything has to be in its right space for me. So I'm the opposite. I don't really compartmentalize, but I hyper organize, and that's how I stay hyper productive.
That's how my brother is. My brother is exactly like that. We are polar opposites in terms of our approach to our daily routines. Everything has to be in perfect order. I mean, he's also in medicine, so which kind of, I mean, you're in somewhat inside. Yeah. So it's, So that's kind of where he found his niche. And I'm in sales. So ish. I'm not really in sales, like it's sales-ish. But so I guess I don't know. And maybe I took the structure for granted. It was like, oh, it'll always be there. I don't have to learn it. And then when it wasn't there, I just rolled with it.
Yeah, I mean, hey, whatever works though, because I mean, you're one of the very few content creators I know that has a full-time job that's not crypto related and still manages. I mean, you put out more content than I do. You're more engaged in your Discord than I am, and I see you on Twitter just as much as I am. So if you can swing that without being organized, have at it, because I wouldn't be able to do it, but I respect the fact that you can do it.
I appreciate that. Sometimes it's hard, and sometimes I get yelled at for tweeting and driving, which tweeting and driving is not illegal. Texting and driving is illegal.
I just can't wait till they start making specific laws. Like, you can't update your Facebook status and drive. You can't tweet and drive.
Oh, it's coming.
I'm sure there's a loophole for it somewhere. I'll let you know if I get caught and have to go to court.
Yeah, thanks. Let me know.
Yeah, I'll keep you in the loop. So I actually realized my last question for you was already answered, how and why you got into technical analysis. So that's good. So, I mean, I'm done on my end, unless you have anything else you'd like to share after our unbelievable amount of hiccups. I'm glad we managed to get this video in.
Yeah, me too. The only thing that I would really kind of, and I think it echoes what we talked about through the whole thing. There were little themes kind of throughout, but don't follow someone just because they have a following. And I mean, we saw with the culling a couple of days ago with a bunch of accounts got crushed. If you did or did not know this, and you're watching the video at this point, or you're rewatching it because it's so awesome. There was a lot of YouTube accounts that got their subscriber counts got crushed because of like spam accounts and fake accounts and closed accounts, and YouTube got rid of all those and stopped counting them. So, I mean, yeah, subscriber counts changed, but that was a somewhat of a reflection on the quality of your following. And I think me and you and a bunch of other creators that we know, they lost like 0.5% or something, like a tiny amount, which just says something to the quality of our followings. Yes, but don't always follow somebody because they have a big following. That doesn't make them any more right than anybody else. Like, judge someone by the quality of their content rather than the quantity of their following. And I think that, I mean, people who followed, perfect example, Trevon James, Craig Grant, Crypto Nick, Ryan Hildreth, all those guys had big 100,000 plus subscriber counts and scammed everybody. So that's I think case in point of take the content on its own merit, not you got a lot of subscribers, you're always right.
Do your own research. The moral of the story is, and in all aspects of crypto, is just do your own research.
Yeah. DYOR, and I'm not an investment advisor.
I feel like that should just be, I'm just going to like record that as my disclaimer for every video.
I'm going to get it as a tat and then just like.
Oh, I'll come with you. We can get matching tats. We can just flash it for the video.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I love it. Oh, man. Well, this has been a pleasure. And thank you for being patient and working the kinks out with me. Hopefully, going forward, I get this figured out so I don't have to do this every time.
I can write backwards now in case anybody needed anyone to do that.
You learned a new skill today. So my quick mindless shill is subscribe to myself and Danny if you haven't. He's great. Obviously, if you're still here, you know that. Also, check out our newsletter. Danny also writes for the Blockchain Brief as well as I do. The pretty sweet newsletter. The links are all over my Twitter and my YouTube. And then Thursday, approximately the same time, this coming Thursday, so 2 days, I should be doing a video with Cameron from Crypto Daily if I can get the shit figured out. We will see how that goes. Wish me luck.
That's going to be so funny.
Yeah, I can't wait. God. I'm like definitely kind of fangirling out a bit because I really value his work, and I'm looking forward to just talking to the guy. It should be fun.
Yeah, he's going to be good. That'll be fun.
It will be. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for watching. And yeah, we'll see you soon or next time or whatever.
See you, everybody.
Bye.